I married under my grandfather's urging through an arranged meeting. Although my wife and I don't share many memories together, we have a child, and we're gradually getting to know each other better. After finishing my work at the company, I eagerly rush home, not just to see my child, who closely resembles me, but there's another person I look forward to seeing, me mother-in-law, who often visits our home. It's a bit embarrassing, but I'll confess the secret story we share. It may sound unusual, but I married my wife after meeting her approximately 10 times. You might be surprised that arranged marriages still happen these days. Nonetheless, whenever I see my beautiful daughter's face, I'm filled with joy at being a father and a strong resolve to raise her well. I made a promise to myself to always treat the woman who gave birth to such a beautiful child well for the rest of my life. I'm the only son in 4 generations. My father had only sisters, and the same goes for my grandfather. In times when daughters are often preferred, our family was different. Like other families, we longed for a son. My grandfather is economically affluent. He owns 2 studio apartment buildings in a prime location next to the subway station, along with a significant amount of real estate and cash. Though wealthy, my grandfather is also in good health, living his later years without any hardships. My father, like his sisters, takes very good care of my grandfather. It's clear from the loving care they all show that my grandfather not only enjoys economic prosperity, but also deep familial love. There's hardly a day when my father or aunts don't gather at my grandmother's house to share a meal and go on outings to the suburbs. My uncles be married are all kind-hearted, and the atmosphere in our family is extremely peaceful. This tranquility stems from my grandfather having provided all his children with enough wealth to live comfortably. My grandfather, holding strong economic values, collects living expenses from his children, despite giving them abundant wealth. As the eldest grandchild in this family, I was hammered with the idea of marrying in my 20s. Fresh out of college and a new employee, I wondered what capacity I had to marry when my grandfather said, "I have arranged everything for you, not to worry about making a living, just meet the person the adults introduce you to." Following this, I met my current wife, who was introduced by a distant relative. She was my age and working as an intern at a large corporation. She was the bright and cheerful only daughter of a relatively wealthy family, and her kind-hearted nature was apparent from the start. About a month into our relationship, we met each other's parents. The atmosphere at my mother-in-law's house was very different from that of my own family, which took me by surprise at the time. My mother-in-law mentioned she was 50. However, she actually looked in her early 40s, slim and beautiful. She resembled my wife's older sister with a youthful spirit. It was immediately apparent she had a gentle soul. We decided to make our home in a spacious apartment in a prime location, a gift from my grandfather. He promised to buy a safe car if we had a child, and reassured us not to worry about educational expenses. My dad was financially comfortable, but my grandfather was on a whole different level. On the day we met him, we received an unexpected amount of money, enough to cover someone's expenses for a month. I wasn't sure how my wife truly felt, but she never hesitated to visit him. She even took the time to figure out his preferences in underwear and tastes to prepare and beautifully wrap gifts for him. Grandpa welcomed our visit, saying, "Getting filial piety from my granddaughter-in-law makes my wallet open." My mother-in-law, who still carries a youthful charm, became a widow when my wife was in high school, after my father-in-law passed away in a car accident. Following months in the hospital, they were the envy of everyone, a perfectly happy couple. And it took years for her to overcome the grief of suddenly losing her spouse. My wife has a brother who lives nearby and visits every week with his kid. The visits are more frequent as my mother-in-law feels quite lonely, and this helps keep her mind off things. I am content with my marriage. Yet, one day, my wife expressed a wish to spend a day out with her friends, just to enjoy herself. I understood her desire, knowing how stressful being married at a young age, along with pregnancy and childbirth, could be. I've had moments of longing to spend the night out with friends myself. My wife planned to stay at a downtown hotel for a staycation with her friends on a Friday evening, suggesting we leave our child with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law worried about the baby being stranger and suggested waiting until the child was older. I proposed, "Couldn't you stay at our place for the night? It would do her some good to unwind." Due to my work schedule, I wasn't accustomed to putting our daughter to sleep by myself, and the thought without my wife felt daunting. So, I asked my mother-in-law to come over, and she arrived on Friday evening. Our daughter, now a toddler, would cry whenever a stranger approached, despite frequent visits to my mother-in-law's house. Yet, she always showed the most affection towards us, her parents. I gifted my wife some spending money as she excitedly prepared to hang out with her friends, telling her to distress and come back in a great mood. Little did I know the day would bring an unexpected encounter with my mother-in-law. On my way home from work, I picked up my mother-in-law's favorite snacks and some beer. With her help, we bathed my daughter and read her a bedtime story. My mother-in-law, showing her appreciation, said with a laugh, "Thank you for letting her go out so willingly. I wonder when that girl will ever grow up." It was the first time I saw my mother-in-law without makeup. In her early 50s, she looked younger and more beautiful than anyone else. She shed tears, saying, "If her father were alive, he would be enjoying his grandchildren. He loved children so." I tried to comfort her, and one thing led to another. Embarrassed yet not wanting to leave my side, she stayed with me through the night. In the morning, as she prepared a simple breakfast, she smiled at me and said, "Let's keep what happened last night between us. It's like a gift from our thoughtless daughter, one I won't forget." That day, I learned that love knows no age. My wife came home late on Saturday, and my mother-in-law gently scolded her. "Have you vented enough? Think of your child first, and try to be more responsible." Since then, I haven't been able to look at my mother-in-law the same way. Yet she treats me as she always has. The awkwardness prevents me from bringing it up first. If the opportunity arises, I would like to comfort her loneliness, especially since she is still quite young, healthy, and attractive. My friends, who attended my wedding, joked about the absence of a sister-in-law or sister, saying, "The house must be so dull without a young woman." Little do they know about the charming woman my mother-in-law is. And of course, I can't share last weekend's encounter with them. I'm confessing this secret story here.